So good morning, each one of you. Today in this class, we'll continue chapter number 10, respiration in organisms. So children, already we have learned about types of respiration, aerobic, anaerobic respiration, how our muscles respire anaerobically. And after that, we have discussed about the breathing rate and breathing, how we can calculate our breathing in 1 minute. After that, let's continue. How do we breathe? That is a respiratory system in human beings. So let's continue with it. That how many organs, which are the main organs of this respiratory system, and what happens during inhalation and what happens during exhalation. So today we'll continue from the 10.3. How do we breathe? So Nishchay, continue reading.
Yes, ma'am. How do we breathe? Let us now learn about the mechanism of breathing. Normally, we take in air through our nostrils. When we inhale air, it passes through our nostrils into the nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, the air reaches our lungs through windpipe. Lungs are present in chest cavity. This cavity is surrounded by ribs on the sides. A large muscular sheet called diaphragm forms the floor of the chest cavity. Breathing involves the movement of the diaphragm and the rib cage.
Okay, beta. So this is just the setting of our respiratory system, that air enters through the nostrils, and after that, that reaches to lungs. Lungs are present in chest cavity. Chest cavity is surrounded by ribs, and a large muscular sheet is there, which is known as diaphragm. Now, children, kindly mark this paragraph. We have to do that what happens during inhalation and what happens during exhalation. You can also do with me. I just want to give you one activity. Breathe in. Take a long breath. Each one of you, take a long breath. See what happens. Now, side by side, you have to read. Ribs move up. Does it happen? And outward. And diaphragm moves down. So, children, kindly underline this. It's very, very important. That what happens during inhalation. During inhalation, ribs moves up and outward, and diaphragms move downward. This movement increases space in our chest cavity and the air moves into our lungs. Now we have to do exhalation. What happens during exhalation? Ribs moves down. I want each one of you to breathe out. Kindly breathe out. After taking a long breath, breathe out each one of you. Then what happens? Ribs moves down and inward. And what about the diaphragm? Diaphragm moves up to take its position. This reduces the size of chest cavity and the air is pushed out of lungs. So children, I hope you have understood the concept of inhalation and exhalation, that what happens during inhalation and during exhalation. I want you to do this activity once more. Take a long breath. At this time, what happens? Ribs moves up and outward. At diaphragms moves down. Now exhale. Exhale your air. Ribs move down and diaphragm moves up. So this is the position during inhalation and during exhalation. Now let's move to our respiratory system. What does our respiratory system is showing? So this is our respiratory system, children. This is a nasal cavity, and the air enters through the nasal cavity, through the windpipe, through the trachea, it reaches to the lungs. And see, lungs, inside the lungs, there are bronchi. Bronchi means it is further divided. Okay. And in front of bronchi, there are bronchioles. And alveoli are there. See, alveoli are there. And what the alveoli do? There the exchange of gases takes place. This is our respiratory system. I want each one of you to see the model of respiratory system. See children. What happens? I think it is visible to all. Is it visible,
Yes, ma'am.
children? So see.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. This is a model of respiratory system. See how air enters. The air enters to the nasal cavity. To the nasal cavity, it reaches to the through the windpipe or trachea. It reaches to the lungs. So these are the lungs, and the base of the lungs here is a muscular sheet, which is known as diaphragm. Here is that sheet. This one. This is a diaphragm, and already we have done that. What happens during inhalation? Diaphragm moves down, and again during exhalation it comes up. Is that okay? So are you able to understand? So in the here, in the lungs, the exchange of gases takes place. Oxygen gas is used, and carbon dioxide gas and other waste gases are exhaled out. So this is the process how respiration works. Now children, you can frame one or two extra questions. Kindly frame one extra question over here. Why smoking is injurious to health? Why? Why smoking is injurious to health? Why smoking is injurious to health? Kindly write down children. Because smoking, what does it do? Smoking damages our lungs, and it also lead to the cancer. So it must be avoided. Got it, each one of you? Next comes one more question is there below this figure 10.4. Why do we sneeze? Kindly frame one more extra question. Why do we sneeze? Why do we sneeze? Okay. So you can frame two extra questions over here. Yes, Mahi, continue reading this paragraph, which is below figure 10.4.
Okay, ma'am. The air around us has various types of unwanted particles, such as smoke, dust, pollens, etc. When we inhale, the particles get trapped in the air present in our nasal cavity. However, sometimes these particles may get past the air in the nasal cavity. This may irritate the lining of the cavity, as a result of which we sneeze. Sneezing expels these foreign particles from the inhaled air, and dust free clean air enters our body.
Okay.
Take care.
So I hope children you have understood that why that happens. Why do we sneeze? Because sometimes what happens, the unwanted particles such as smoke, dust, that are inhaled with the air through our nasal cavity. That's why we feel sneezing. We do sneeze. And with the help of sneezing, what happens? That particles are thrown out, or they go out with the help of the exhaled air. Got it? So is there any problem to anyone? Have you understood this concept of respiration? Children, these two activities are there. Activity 4 and activity 5 are there. And these activities are related with the concept of diaphragm. And I think moreover you have done this activity, that what happens during inhalation and what happens during the exhalation. Is that okay? During inhalation, see the first figure. I want each one of you to inhale and just feel it, that what is happening exactly. This is a diaphragm. Diaphragm moves down when we inhale, and when the air enters the ribs, these are the ribs, these ribs moves out. Am I clear? Ribs moves out and diaphragm moves down. On the other hand, when the exhalation takes place, when we exhale the air, at that time, what happens? Diaphragm comes back to its original position. It moves up and ribs moves back to its position. So children, you have to learn it. It's very, very important. Okay, that how our ribs are moving during inhalation and during exhalation. So children, this activity is related. This is a model of mechanism of breathing. So what happens during this? It's a very simple activity. You have to take empty glass bottle, plastic bottle for it, and 2 straws are required, and 2 small balloons, and 1 big balloon is required. I will show you the video of this also so that you can see how our lungs work. With the help of straws, we will fix 2 balloons like this, and on the we have to cut the bottle from the lower part, और यहाँ पे हम लोग क्या पेस्ट कर देंगे? Big balloon. बड़े वाले balloon को बीच में से काट के we will fix it here. And when we pull that balloon, what will happen? The balloons which are in the form of our lungs, the air will filled into it. जब आप diaphragm को ऊपर करोगे, this balloon chest cavity को, then what will happen? The air will expelled out. So it's very interesting activity, and it's of no cost. Only 1 plastic bottle, 2 straws, and 3 balloons. 2 balloons for the lungs, and 3rd balloon to fix at the bottom of the this bottle to form it as a chest cavity. Oh, sorry, platform. Or that platform is known as a diaphragm. Okay, it's very interesting activity. I want each one of you to do to make this model of lungs. Okay, so that you can see or you can understand the mechanism of lung.